Welcome to Watchbox on Ablogtowatch, and thanks for logging on. I'm here with Josh Thanos, and we're back in black for Black Friday, folks. Again, we're making ourselves at home, courtesy of Ariel Adams. Ariel, thank you very much.
Thanks, Ariel.
Remember, What You Want is now thewatchbox.com, so
right.
Be sure to check out our new website, link in the description below. Moreover, I'm here with Josh, who's lead watch buyer for Watchbox. And Josh, quick question.
Yes, sir.
Who are we and why are we here?
Well, I'm Tom. You're Tim. I'm Josh. We are Watchbox. We're here to talk about watches.
Yeah, we do this every Friday on the Watchbox Studios channel, so we're back. And I have to say, I woke up this morning and I had the perfect song for Black Friday. Turned on my car, XM radio comes up, boom, Iron Maiden, the number of the beast. I knew it was going to be a good day. On the official channel of the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy's Boneyard. All right, folks, welcome. Joining us from around the world. Let's throw up some wrist shots because Josh has got some news.
Oh, yeah. So here's a one I'm taking for a test drive right now. It's a 116-900. It's a new Air King, 2016 release, 40mm case. It has a fully brushed bracelet, has polished bezel. I'm really loving this watch. I think this might actually have to take the place of my Panerai.
Okay,
you see
your 380?
That's right, my Pan 380, because it's a time-only watch, just like the 380. This one's an automatic, not the manual wind that I'm used to. But I think it's time for a change, and I'm really loving this watch.
That was one of the quirkiest Rolex releases of Basel World 2016, and I like it. I love it for that.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried the Green Hulk sub because I like green, but that one is too much green for me. So the green accents here allow this to be an everyday wear, in my opinion.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah.
And so that's something new. Here's something old, but a golden oldie, or I should say white gold. That's the white gold movement of my Reverso Platinum No. 2 Tourbillon. Now you can see it's a Côte Soleil finish. I'm actually wearing this one and I'm kind of daisy chaining weeks together because I want to put this one over the top and make it my most worn watch of 2017. That's my goal, that's my choice. Wish me luck. I've got about 2 weeks to go. If I can resist putting something else on for 2 weeks, this one takes the cake for the year. All right. Welcome, folks. I see Captain Zed joining us from the U.S. I see Aria joining us from Iran. Martin, Finders Videos. Welcome, guys. Welcome, Eric Nielsen. What's up? We're up. Okay, let's talk real quick. Josh and I also sell watches, thewatchbox.com. If you want to sell your watch, there's no easier way to buy, trade, or sell. We pay cash, and we make it easy. All right, this or that. This is a feature where I give Josh two choices, and it's kind of a collector's perspective, and it's Josh's. I give him two choices that are somehow thematically related, and he chooses which watch he would prefer. So, this is Black Friday. These watches are blue, so today's theme is black and blue, this or that. Black Friday, 2 in blue, Omega DeVille Tresor with blue enamel dial and white gold, or FP Journe Chronometre Bleu. Okay, I know you're partial. Let me finish first. I'm gonna outline what they are, and then he's gonna pick a favorite. Okay, so the Omega DeVille Tresor, underdog or overdog? I'm not sure. It doesn't necessarily have the high horology cred, because that's typically not what you think when you think Omega. At the other end of the extreme, though, you can say this is a Swatch Group product, which is, you know, a $7.5 billion industry major. So whether it's the overdog or the underdog against an established high horology player, I can tell you that 40 millimeters in a white gold case with a blue enamel dial that reads more like sodalite than blue, applied white gold indices, white gold Dauphine hands, a very special watch that pays homage to the 1949 Omega Tresor. And this is actually a fairly, I would say, this 1949 inspired watch, which came out in 2014 at Basel World, is fairly pricey as Omegas go. $19,100, boutique exclusive, 88 pieces. Now, caliber 8511 is a rare example of an Omega coaxial 8500 series watch with a hand-wound caliber. So you can see more of it. It's got a rose gold bridge, very cool, 60-hour power reserve, coaxial, silicon hairspring and balance, COSC chronometer. It's not yet a master chronometer. Free-sprung hacking, quick-set date, something the FP Journe does not have, dual barrel. Okay, and now I offer him the alternative. FP Journe Chronometre Bleu came out in 2009, a legend in its own time. You can see this 39mm tantalum case watch is much thinner, 2 millimeters thinner than the Omega at 8.6 millimeters. This is a watch with the most famous blue dial in the modern world of high horology, probably in the industry as a whole, and maybe for all time. Made now in-house at Cadronier, they own their own dial factory and their own case factory. Current retail of roughly $22,800 US. Caliber 1304 is 18 karat rose gold. Like my tourbillon you just saw, it's an 18 karat gold alloy, and it's one of the few movements I've seen that's not just beautifully finished, it's actually styled to open up those channels between the barrels and, for instance, the balance cock, the 3 different finishes you'll see, the engine turning, the Clou de Paris, the Côte de Genève, 56-hour manual wind power reserve. Does not hack, but waitlisted, and you could go way out into 2018 sitting and waiting your turn. So Josh,
at this point,
even with the wait list, which one do you pick?
So it's harder than it seems. I'd say a couple things that are going to be big differentiators. While the CB is going to be a 39mm, really wears more like a 38.
Yes.
Because the lugs and the low profile. The Omegas, even though it's a 40, really wears like a 41. I've never tried on the white gold, this version here, but we've had the rose gold in stock before. I put it on my wrist, it's nice. I'll tell you this, never could I get behind a DeVille. It's hard for me. And for that reason, I'm gonna have to pick the CB. But if you can find this DeVille in this variation with this amazing lacquer dial.
It's enamel. It's a fired enamel dial.
Fired enamel dial, which is unbelievably hard to make. What's the attrition rate on things like on enamel dials? Like
There's an incredible rejection rate. It could be anywhere from 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 that are serviceable. At any point, it can break, and it is grand faux, so it's multiply fired.
Sure.
It has a texture to it that is uncommon. Blue enamel is something you hardly ever see, and if you go, for instance, Patek Philippe, you're going to have to spend a few $100,000 to get a blue enamel dial.
Absolutely. So there is value there, though, if we're talking about value, the resale value is highly one-sided, especially lately. For whatever reason, you can't find that CB. The Chronometre Bleu, it just doesn't exist. So for that reason, and because I love Journe, and I'm just not a fan of Omega dress watches. If I'm going for Omega, I'm only going for a sport watch, in my opinion. So for those reasons, it's going to be a CB.
Okay, and I can see that. I'll be honest with you. I'm probably going to go with the Omega. I've got a soft spot for the brand in my heart. It was my first luxury watch. It was a graduation gift. This watch with the enamel dial, the white gold case, it's a combination that I happen to love. I'd also say that it's got a bit of a nerd factor. Technically, it might be a little bit more sophisticated than the Journe, and I do like a date on a watch, and there's no arguing any which way other than date or no date. This watch has got a date. Unlike me at the prom, this one's hooked up. So here's the thing. I have a note in here from the one in yellow. There should be a Moser in there. On the basis of a Fumet Blue Moser dial, you're absolutely right, but we had to keep this one short because this is Friday and we're all looking to get out. So I want to do this guy a solid. He's got family watching live. Mom and grandma?
That's right. Yeah, they're in the next room there watching. Hey,
we salute you, distinguished guests. All right. So new watches. So here's the thing about new watches. Sometimes things come in pairs. And just in time, or perhaps unjust in time for the holidays, DC Comics launches their latest questionable superhero movie. Rotten Tomatoes was not kind. And I'll say this, and RJ Romain Jerome didn't miss the opportunity to launch a questionable superhero watch. Okay, so yeah, we're going down that path. Enter the Romain Jerome Skylab Batman limited edition with a case back featuring a sort of metallic deposition silkscreen map of Gotham City because, I mean, who wouldn't need that? Yeah,
Right.
I mean, I still use maps, right? You never know when you might visit Gotham, so it's a practical measure, but discreetly sized at 48 millimeters and black PVD stainless steel. This is one for the connoisseur. I'll also say, Manual wind skeleton caliber RJ004, nicely executed. It's a good looking piece, but I'm also going to say this one's probably less about the movement. Okay, so 48-hour power reserve, and all of that motivating a 75-piece limited edition. 19,500 US. Oh. Hey, what can I say? If you liked Justice League, I've got a watch for you. Josh, what do you think of this?
Well, I'd say the idea of the watch is really great. You said, what was the $17,500 retail?
19,500.
Oh, Lord. So, okay, so for $20,000, you can get a Batman watch.
Can you think of another Batman watch that might cost less?
Oh, yeah, you can get 2 of those Batman watches for the price of this watch, and you can keep your money, too. I'd say that Romain Jerome makes some really cool, funky watches. If you're like me and you like I'm an eclectic collector, right? So I have a few core pieces similar to what you have here, and then the rest, you see what I have, anonymous, I have ball watches, things like that, right? So this would fit in that realm of my watches, but for $20,000, this doesn't make sense.
It's very ambitious. I'm going to say this, Romain Jerome, you make some fun stuff.
Really
and in the past, you've made some of the most, for better or worse, some of the most memorable and distinctive watches.
Pac-Man watch.
Space Invaders, DeLoreans, the Titanic. The Titanic watch was the only watch I ever had for a watch review that creeped me out a little, like I didn't really want to get too close to it. It was kind of spooky, but it's a great Halloween watch for that reason. So Batman. This is the costume season. Halloween is not that far in the rearview mirror. And look, superhero movies are coming out right and left. You can wear this one to the theater in good conscience. I can guarantee you, if you do see Justice League, the watch will be better than the movie.
Yeah, I saw that movie last weekend. It was...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, and listen, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. I'll say this, though. So Romain Jerome is starting slowly to use Superluminova, and I want to thank you very much, because some of their watches, like including the Pac-Man watch, if you just cover that thing with lume, that changes the entire... Maybe I might start thinking about spending some real money on a watch like that.
Okay, so there is one bright light here, and it's that you've got a glow-in-the-dark Batman.
But you can see right there.
Thanks, guys.
They have the glow-in-the-dark Batman.
Excellent graphics work.
Yeah.
Okay,
Fantastic.
so quick question I got from Beauty of Scent. Tim, Josh, what's your take on the new Hamilton H10 movements equal in quality to the 2824? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, obviously a lower beat rate to get the 80 hours of power reserve. Just remember that the best version of this movement, which is spread across several brands, is probably the H80 variant that's in the Mito Chronometre Baroncelli watch. So you can get a chronometer version with silicone hairspring if you go Mito, and that would be my choice for a version of this Swatch corporate caliber.
Yeah, Tim stole my answer.
I'm the thief today.
That's right.
Okay, most underrated debut of the week. Josh, I think we all have a soft spot in our hearts for the old Speedy Reduced.
Oh, yeah.
This is the one you wanted and didn't get at Basel 2017, the Omega Speedmaster 38mm Chrono Black. This is effectively the long-awaited successor to the late and great Speedmaster Reduced, also known as the Speedmaster Auto, which was a superstar watch of the 90s, frequently featured as the basis for the Schumacher special editions, and dead since 2009. Here, 38mm stainless steel, but unlike a lot of the old Speedy Reduceds, you get a sapphire crystal, aluminum bezel, solid case back. This isn't one of the in-house, well, it's an exclusive caliber, but it is based on a Valjoux 7753. But the caliber 3330 is pretty impressive. It's a Valjoux 7753 that is now a chronometer, a coaxial, free-sprung, a column wheel chronograph with a 54-hour power reserve and a silicone hairspring. You get a lot of money, Josh, for your $4,900 US. Who would buy this watch, and do you find it appealing?
Yeah, I'd say anyone who feels that the 42mm traditional Speedy is going to be too big, which, you know, there's a large contingency of those people out there. And I'll say something. A while back, there was somebody that we know who said that Omega doesn't make any relevant watches, and I'd say you're absolutely wrong, because here you have a new and very relevant watch.
Yes.
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, the Speedmasters right now are on fire. You have Speedy Tuesdays, you have the Snoopies. People are losing their minds over these watches. So I'd say that the more Speedmaster variations you make, it's not a bad thing.
And is it fair to say that the asymmetrical case, the beveled case, wears bigger, especially when it's on a bracelet? Like a 42 Speedmaster Moonwatch on a bracelet wears bigger than that.
Yes, without a doubt.
And this at 38 on a full bracelet, I think personally, is going to wear like a 40.
Yeah, closer to a 40. Yeah, it's going to have a different profile, so it's going to be more of like a bubble than something flat on your wrist, which personally for me, it's not my favorite, but there's so many people out there who like this over like the traditional 42.
And it's sub $5,000 new with an Omega warranty. That's a good buy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go to zero.
No, this is the one to buy. We talked about the Tresor being maybe the kind of watch. It's an Omega that's almost $20,000, white gold, not a sports watch, not a Speedmaster, not a Seamaster. That's a depreciation special. This is a watch that's going to be pretty robust. If you ever want to flip it for something else, I think this is going to have the integrity of retained value more than most non-Moonwatch Speedies and more than most non-Speedmaster Omegas.
Yeah, there's value just based on the dollars you spend and what you get. I mean, that's, it's on the lower end of their price point, so it makes sense.
The one in yellow noting, Tim, do you remember the Romain Jerome Hello Kitty or Pokemon? I do, as a matter of fact. I remember.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, you could have not one but two Romain Jerome Pokemon watches. There was a Piece Unique Tourbillon, and I think there was a $20,000 limited series of 20. Guys, if you got one, send me a wrist shot, and I'll send you free swag.
Because you need it, because you spent a lot of money on that one.
Yeah, because I think I'm going to win that bet. Okay, so here we are, continuing through our profile of new watch releases, and if you're an IWC fanboy, I've got good news for you. IWC Collectors Forum Watch 4 orders are now being taken for 2018 delivery. Josh, you've seen the Collectors Forum watches before. This is actually the fourth one, the Aquatimer Auto Edition Collectors Watch Forum. Those keeping score, this is reference 4310-01, the first of a new family. Who is the kind of guy who's bought the Collectors Forum watch in the past, other than obviously a member of the Collector Forum?
Yeah, it's just going to be guys who want a little bit different, dial configuration, because I think they have like the faux patina is what the.
Oftentimes, yes.
That's kind of what the Collectors Forum is. I think we just had one. It's just someone who wants the traditional IWC, either the Chrono or the Aquatimer or what. Just with a little bit different.
And let me ask you, because we always talk about co-branding and how too much overt co-branding can sometimes turn off the majority of the market to a watch.
Market, right.
This has no co-branding on the front. You wouldn't know it's a Collectors Forum watch unless you turned it over. Is this a watch you could buy just because you think it looks darn cool, even if you've never signed up for the Collector Forum?
Yeah, what did we say the retail was? Is it more than the regular Aquatimer bronze?
It's hard to say. The standard Aquatimer in steel, we're going to use that as the comparison because this is an Aquatimer Auto and the current bronze is a chronograph.
Oh, I see.
This is going to be a lot more than the steel watch, but the steel watch, which I think is the 3290, that has an ETA caliber inside. This is an exclusive caliber with a 60-hour power reserve.
Okay, so fair enough. So if the person who's going to purchase this watch is someone who's not into wants a bronze watch, maybe you have a Bronzo, you have a Tudor bronze, maybe you have even the Oris bronze, and you want another bronze dive watch, but don't like the chrono, because all the other ones I just mentioned were not chronos. So you can go for this, especially with the in-house caliber. Or is it in-house or is it just special?
It is an in-house. It's a new caliber that's just launched in this model.
Okay, cool. So right now it's great unless they just launch it across all theirs. And maybe that is like the first step. So you'd have one of the first in-house calibers for the Aquatimer. Maybe that's somebody who wants to purchase this watch.
And one of 100. I mean, 250. One of 250, I should say.
Sure.
I'll also say this, guys. €9,300. It's a good value for an in-house caliber watch with this level of detail and exclusivity.
Yeah.
I will say, IWC, I give you guys a lot of credit. Since 2001, you've operated your own professionally moderated collectors forum online. It's a great source for articles, insights, and history of IWC references through the years. I'll also say this. It takes cajones to operate your own forum, because a forum can easily become kind of a fever swamp.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of brands used to have forums because this was a cool thing during the 2000s to get your site traffic up. And eventually they became so difficult to corral that today it's really just two mainstream brands. There's Vacheron and there's IWC on the collector forum.
Yeah.
So details.
Good for them.
Yeah, I agree. And good for them. This is the fourth exclusive for the collector forum they've offered after the Ingenieur, the Da Vinci, and the 2013 Pilot's Chrono.
Right.
All right. Fun watches, I'm going to say, probably not up my alley, but a very cool and distinctive, and in this case, technically accomplished watch with the new caliber 82110. Peloton winding, free-sprung architecture, 60-hour power reserve, and unlike the standard Aquatimer automatic, you get a display case back. Okay. Josh, question from Dave T. IWC Petit Prince series, do you think it's good or unfortunate co-branding? These are the blue dial specials.
No, I think it's a home run for them. I mean, these are watches that are not super limited, but because the blue dials are so popular, then it creates somewhat of a limited market for them in regards to there's more demand than there is supply. So we have people paying, essentially for retail for these watches and happy with the watches, and they resell really well. So I think that the Petit Prince, the blue dial Petit Princes are fantastic. It's done really, really well for the brand. In fact, it brought the brand back from a little bit of a lull, in my opinion.
Yes, I have to agree here because there's very little overt co-branding on the dial side of these watches.
Yeah.
For the most part, you're looking at a blue dial and that's it. All of the distinctive markings are on the back. And there are 2 series associated with Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, the author of Le Petit Prince. There is the kind of brown bronze sunburst dial that's associated with him that often does have some sort of signature on the dial side. And then there's the blue Petit Prince, which is the character he created that is the namesake for the inspiration for the blue dial special series. I would say the blue has been a lot more successful and is probably a little bit more robust on the secondary circuit.
Without a doubt.
Oh, right. So I noticed there's a little bit of a debate in the chat box concerning my sunglasses. You can register your complaints on the watchbox.com. Link in the description. All right. So I should mention that since we were talking about an exclusive diving watch and a premium priced one, it's worth mentioning why it is that dive watches seem to dominate the luxury market. I think it's a little bit counterintuitive. It was such a specialized class of tool when originally conceived. Well, Ariel Adams of Ablogtowatch was kind enough to answer a viewer question regarding of why it is dive watches grew to be the dominant class of luxury watch for people who may never get near the water and never strap on a rebreather. So Ariel is going to address this question and discuss the curious transformation from utilitarian implement to genteel totem of status around the office. And my guys have Ariel. Ariel, take it away.
Hey everyone, this is Ariel Adams from Ablogtowatch. So I'm going to be answering some questions from the audience, and I'm going to read the question and then I'm going to say what I think. These are actually very good, difficult questions. Tim was nice enough to share a few of them. So here's one that I thought was interesting. And the question is, how did diving watches, a professional niche product, become a default option for mainstream luxury watch buyers? I think the question here is really asking, why do we see so many high-end dive watches? Because most of them aren't actually being used for diving. And I agree that it began as a niche product because not everyone was a diver, either professionally or recreationally. So why is it that dive watches are so popular? I can say that personally, I am someone that likes dive watches probably more than any other type of watch. I own a lot of dive watches. I've probably written about more dive watches than any other type of watch. Just looking at my desk right now, there are several watches, from new dive watches to old dive watches in terms of the design. They're all new watches, but vintage style. I have some digital ones, analog ones, quartz ones, automatic ones, all over. And that's just on my desk here. So it's definitely true that diving watches are very popular. Commercial diving started in the 1950s. And brands like Zodiac and Blancpain and Rolex all had diving watches. And it was exciting because it was a timepiece that was kind of built like a submarine. It was meant to go underwater. It was a tool that you absolutely had to have. If you didn't have a timepiece, you're going to die. Because you needed to keep track of things like oxygen and how long you were under. You needed to track decompression stops as you're surfacing again. So there's a lot of reasons that dive watches are very, very popular. And it was a cool thing to be a scuba diver. It was new, it was sexy, it was about exploring a new type of place. Not a lot of people went there. You felt very exclusive going there. And when you were not in the water, it actually made sense to wear a dive watch because you needed a watch anyways. Watches weren't that cheap, right? So if you spent money on a dive watch, chances are that it was one of not that many timepieces you had, and they were of the size and design that you could wear them, and it became kind of an activity status symbol, similar today how you might wear sneakers when you're clearly not doing anything sports related, but it sort of evokes a sporty lifestyle. Why dive watches as opposed to, say, pilot watches or driving watches? Well, I don't actually know if dive watches are produced more than, say, driving watches or pilot watches, but I'll tell you this. The definition of what a dive watch is a lot more specific. It's something that designers can wrap their minds around. It's got to be water resistant. It's got to have certain timing features. It's got to be very legible. And there's a theme around it which makes sense, which means it's good to design around because there's rules. Driving watches, such as racing chronographs, and pilot watches that come in all different versions, is a little bit more ambiguous in terms of what makes a pilot watch or what makes a driver's watch. It's really just a watch. They don't necessarily have the same types of, I'll call them functional requirements, as a dive watch. So I think that the design challenge of making an attractive, comfortable, durable, whatever dive watch is interesting. And one of the things in terms of functionality, which goes into sort of the gear element of why a lot of people like watches, is the whole thing of water resistance. Now, this is one of those ongoing jokes, right? Because, my watch is water resistant to 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, 2,000 meters, 3,000 meters. I have a watch that goes down to 20,000 feet. It's, there's watches that are filled with oil and can ostensibly go down as deep as you can imagine. So when it comes to dive watches, there aren't really any more directions you can go in. It's not like anyone needs a deeper diving watch, because the durability of these timepieces far exceeds what anyone actually needs. And I think it's that story, that relatable story of this watch is meant to survive X. With a pilot watch, what exactly is the story? This watch is meant to be legible, high up in the air. Well, it's been so long since anyone even has flown in a type of cockpit where it's freezing cold and there's a visibility problem and you can't have lights on because you might alert the enemy and things like that. These aren't really considerations that people have, and it's a little bit more foreign. Yet swimming or diving or something like that is something that a lot more people can relate to. Also, from a design perspective, I think people just like it. It's like wearing a little tank on your wrist.
So we want to thank Ariel Adams for taking the time to kind of outline the evolution of the dive watch from suitable for the frogman and the diving professional to suitable for desk divers like the rest of us. And it is an interesting arc. But I will also say this. At the same time, we have sort of contributions that were planned in advance for the show. We also have the ad hoc and the off the cuff, and some of that is coming out of our live chat box, where I want to address a couple of questions. First, by Rakshit Rai is asking, Tim, according to your opinion, what is the best way to get a hand-painted dial below 25,000? I would say your best bet, of course, is to go pre-owned. Look for the old Ulysse Nardin San Marco series with enameled dials, because you're going to get something that's not just hand-painted, but exquisitely hand-painted enamel, champlevé, cloisonné enamel. There's a lot of beautiful nautical imagery. A lot of ship series have been created over the years, from the USS Constitution to the Clipper Lightning. These watches are beautifully made, often by a company that would later become a subsidiary of Ulysse Nardin, Danze Cadran. So if you can find these older enamel-dialed San Marcos, and even some of the Classico series enamels, you will be able to buy them for under 25,000 and get not just hand painting, but some exquisite subgenres of enameling with wonderful subject matter. I think everyone loves, for the most part, the Chinese zodiac animal selections that they've used in the past, along with the nautical imagery of great ships. So definitely search for those Ulysse Nardin, enamel dial, Classico, and San Marco pre-owned. Separately, we had a question from JBO. Oh, Josh, I don't want to run you over.
Good call. That's all.
Oh, good stuff. Yeah, and if you
The only
find
thing
one,
I could think of was Nardin.
buy it from him.
Oh.
But the other thing is, I had a question from JBO Surf, our friend from Adelaide, Australia, who's asking, is there something that can compete with the Moser Pioneer Perpetual for the same price? I would say you have to ask what you want to get out of your Perpetual. The Pioneer is a sports watch that in steel has 100-meter water resistance, and a little bit more, in fact. And this is also a perpetual calendar that can run in both directions. The only thing I can think of is the Diver Perpetual or the Aqua Perpetual. They were separate limited series in dive watch format from Ulysse Nardin from the 2000s. The Aqua Perpetual with a beautiful lacquered bezel and lacquered Flinke blue dial, which is guilloche and then translucent lacquered. This is a perpetual calendar that runs in both directions. It's diveable, and you'll see them for between about $14,000 and $18,000, depending on condition and accessory set. If you just want a perpetual calendar, you want to get something like the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Ultra Thin Perpetual, which you can buy for under $20,000 new in steel, silver, or black dial, or under $15,000 pre-owned. Those would be my calls. But Josh, let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
You own dive watches, and you wear dive watches to the office, and you wear dive watches with suits. So in your opinion, why does the dive watch have this transcendent appeal? I mean, it's a utilitarian thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it gives like a beefier feel. It's going to feel a little bit sturdier for me, and also, I mean, we're from you and I. Well, you're not from, but I'm from South Florida, so I'd spend 2 or 3 days a week at the beach. So I wanted to have something that I knew was going to be able to handle salt water, right? So that's that. But just the aesthetic, I think the aesthetic is cool. It's the idea of a dive watch. And having something that you can use every single day, not have to worry about it,
Regardless of what you're wearing, bathing suit or business suit.
Exactly, that's what I'm going for. So that's the reason why I think dive watches work, and most brands, their core watches are going to be dive watches.
Okay. And I can relate to that too. I wore that first Omega Speedmaster that I mentioned earlier. I wore it everything from, graduation robes at college to swim tests in the Navy. So it really is the all-purpose watch, as long as it's not too big and bulky. I haven't seen anyone wearing a business suit with an IWC Deep 1. All right.
Actually, I think I have.
He's done. Okay, he's seen it all. He trades more watches than I do.
Yeah.
All right.
Especially this week.
This week, really? What happened this week?
It's just been busy as heck, man. I think people got a lot of free time, so we've just been buried the whole week, and I think the entire industry's feeling it this week. And I think you'll see in the reports too. Next week, you'll see that this was a up week for watches across the board.
Call them. All right, so moving on through our show program for tonight, I should mention that we have new watches continued. Okay, news in general. The McRib is back. Oh. Now, if I had to explain to you what this is, I just say it's a lot of syrup and maybe some meat, plus a bun, onions, and pickles. It's big news in the United States thanks to our characteristically short attention spans. But I'll also say that in Germany, and this is a rumor I've never confirmed, but I hear the McRib is an all-year menu item, and that's my failed attempt at a German flag with a McRib icon, but I hear it's on the menu all year long. So they need something even more special, and more red, to ring in the holiday season. Moritz Grossmann Atum Extreme Dubai. This is a crazy watch on so many levels, crazier than the McRib all year round. Now, launched for Dubai mega dealer Ahmed Siddiqui & Sons in connection with the just passed Dubai Watch Week. This is an aged steel case, an aged leather strap, and a simulated fracture crystal, caliber 201.1, hand-finished, but in what's described as close to destructive surface treatment. Their words, not mine. The Fatherland gives us a sales pitch worthy of the Texas State Fair with this one. Possibly a world's first. It's an edition of 17.5 pieces. Yeah, I know. One half of one watch will be retained in Glashütte back at Moritz Grossmann headquarters.
That's when they broke it in half, I guess.
I'm thinking, yeah, but half price opportunity.
There you go, 50% off. You can't find that in the watch world, right?
With no compromise in finish quality. We do know that 2017 was the year of watch industry budget specials, but I don't think this is what most had in mind. Josh, is this just a gimmick, or do you like the watch for what it is?
I mean, I think the price point is going to determine whether or not it's a gimmick. I have to assume, based on their other references, it's going to be somewhere near or more than $20,000.
Yeah, the Atum Pure is going to be your reference here. I haven't been able to find pricing on this one, but I think it's going to be similar. 41 millimeters in steel. You'd compare it to the Atum Pure, and that's the other watch that has, I'm not going to say close to destructive finishing, because I've never heard that expression before, but something lower than their standard level of finish to meet a price point.
And what was that price point?
I want to say it's like around $20,000, a little bit lower maybe.
Right. So for $20,000, I'd say this is definitely a gimmick. I mean, it's interesting, I guess, but we can certainly buy a watch for less money and beat the living crap out of it and wear it around. And if you want something that looks, destroyed. In fact, I have a Panerai that I paid $500 for. That is, it's probably it looks similar.
I will say this, however, there are enough collectors of Siddiqui and Son special editions.
Yeah.
Like, this is now a class of collectible watch.
That's true.
To the point where you might buy it just on that basis alone, and they've had some great ones in the past.
Yeah, well, Siddiqui is a humongous dealer in Dubai, and when we were in Switzerland, we met some boutique workers from Siddiqui, nice guys. They carry some of the like MB&F and things like that. That's what they carry. So, and Dubai, I guess, is the place to find guys who have money to spend on things like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I owe them an apology. I think the Atum Pure is priced a little closer to like $14,000, $15,000 US dollars.
A little bit more reasonable, but still. I mean, they created a broken watch, right? That's the idea here?
It's a new watch that's supposed to look like a broken watch, yes.
Like ripped jeans.
Okay, don't go there. That's controversial. You can be critical constructively, but don't be mean. All right. So,
I mean, whatever. It's cool. For if they made 50 pieces, I'd be more critical. For there's certainly 17 guys out there who can spend, say, $15,000 on a watch like this, put it in the rotation, or don't put it in the rotation.
It's Dubai. It might be a rounding error, and some guys mad money budget.
That's what a lunch costs in Dubai, from what I understand.
Can you? Yeah. I mean, if you can imagine like a foot-long hot dog in Dubai or this watch, I think the watch will last longer.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. It probably tastes better.
So from one man considering a Rolex purchase to another, we have a question from our field, and this is coming from Joseph Seeley. Hey all, I'm trying to figure out on my own a this or that situation. Well, Josh is an expert on these. He's thinking of getting the Basel 2016 fully luminescent dial Explorer 1 or a 6-digit no-date sub-C. So would you go with an Explorer 1 full luminescent dial or a no-date sub with ceramic bezel?
I mean, my heart says go for the no-date. I mean, it depends on what else is in your collection. That's what it always comes down to, right? So if it's going to be your only watch, go for the no-date. It's going to be more collectible in the future, easier to move out into something else if you like. But if you don't want to be like everyone else and you want something a little bit more unique, then yeah, I guess go for the Explorer 1. Does that help, maybe, a little bit?
I will say this, if you're okay, the 2010 to 2015 Explorer 1 looks almost exactly like the 16, and as long as loomed hands are enough for you, there is now a discount compared to the post-2016 watch, and it looks almost exactly the same in the light. So I would say that would be the one to compare with the Sub-C, because that's going to come a lot more affordably. But if you want a watch that has a rotating bezel, and I use it for timing everything but diving, when I have a rotating bezel watch, I feel like that has a level of utility that makes up for the lack of the date and takes it a step beyond. Oh, also, you have that awesome quick adjust clasp on the sub.
So that's what's going to put it over, exactly. That slide lock is, that's absolutely the biggest difference. And in fact, that's one of the things that's kind of like giving me a hesitation on this watch, because my wrist does swell a little bit more than I'd say a normal person. So I love the slide lock on the Submariner. Sorry.
Yeah. No problem. And for me, that's always a decision point when someone asks me, should I buy this watch in the Rolex catalog or one of the dive watches, either the Sub or the Sea Dweller? Both of those watches have a lot more adjustability built into the clasp, which is not the kind of thing people usually talk about, but that kind of fit adjustment and flexibility for me, plus the ability to pull it out almost an inch and put it over a winter coat or sweater, that's a difference maker for me. And that would be a decision point if I were considering a no-date Sub versus an Explorer 1.
We made a mistake here.
What did we do?
He already has Explorer 1. He wants to know if he should get the he wants it. Okay, so the white dial 42mm Explorer 2 or the no-date sub.
Oh,
all
okay.
Right, that changes.
Well, this is great. No, we answered two questions: the mistake question and the real question.
Right.
So, Josh, fire away.
Ooh, man, you know what? I had a white dial 42mm Explorer 2 on my desk today, and I really like that watch. Also, I mean, you still have the issue with the clasp because you don't have a slide lock clasp with the Explorer. It's only with the dive watches, right? But the Explorer, I mean, having something from a core brand that's so far off the book with that white dial Explorer 2 and in the orange hand, I would honestly, because you already have the black dial with the Explorer 1, I'd say go for the Explorer 2, the Polar. Go for it, unless you really want the slide lock. Otherwise, that's really the only difference in my opinion.
That's a
great
great. Well, the second time zone's useful too.
Okay, there you go.
Here's the thing, though. I will say I haven't seen too many white dial Explorer 2s. That watch came out in 2011, and I would not be shocked if the next generation of the Explorer 2 goes back down to a 40 or a 41. Just like I
think 41 makes it perfect, by the way. The 42 is really nice, and I know we're an authorized dealer for Rolex. We're not supposed to be saying things like this.
We love all Rolex watches. We're just trying to help you find the right
Well,
one
what I
for
was
you.
saying is that it actually wears really well with the aftermarket rubber straps that some of these companies sell.
Yes.
That 42mm wears perfectly with watch, so it creates like another dimension for the watch.
And I'll also say, I do honestly believe that when this generation is discontinued, the next one will be a little bit smaller. So having the rarer version of a somewhat uncommon watch, you don't see a ton of the current Gen Explorer 2. I would actually say, still go with the no date sub. Okay.
There you go.
All of that said, I will mention we're not quite done riffing on Germany yet. Following the McRib and the new Dubai special edition from Moritz Grossmann, here's the thing. I would imagine German regulators having binge-watched a marathon of Inspector Gadget reruns. And this is the only possible way they could have reached this conclusion here. Yeah, I mean, this would be great as a full screen. It would make more sense that way. But kids with smartwatches. There we go.
Hey.
Penny and brain. If you don't know that, shame on you. Concerns have arisen in Germany that these watches could be used for surveillance, and the central government has announced an unprecedented nationwide ban on smartwatches for children. So the smartwatch ban, which seems to apply to children up to and including the age of 12, is being proposed because it's feared that these could be used as instruments of surveillance against children who are in school, out on their own. It's simply a matter of intrusion into the privacy of a minor. Therefore, the German Federal Network Agency, which is kind of the equivalent of the U.S. Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, is saying that these must be pulled from shelves. Parents are urged to destroy the watches, and there will no longer be ad campaigns marketing this kind of watch to kids. This is interesting because it seems to be that there's a sort of cultural caution in Germany that has taken it one step beyond general EU pullbacks on smartwatches for kids. There have been recommendations against giving smartwatches to kids promulgated by the European Union's central government. It's more like a guiding body. But there haven't been outright bans. Here we have a country that has a cultural aversion to surveillance due to the long association of surveillance with the East German Stasi. And prior to 1945, that government wasn't a whole lot of fun either.
No.
So there's a long-term, culturally unique feeling that surveillance is something particularly galling,
Right.
offensive, and dangerous. And that's why I think you're seeing this additional step being taken in Germany.
Yeah.
Who knows? This could be the vanguard of a global movement against kids with smartwatches. But I also wonder, is there anything that can be done in terms of surveillance with a smartwatch that cannot be done with a smartphone?
Yeah, probably doubly with a smartphone. I find that in Switzerland, Germany, that area of the world it's like uniquely obsessed with privacy. Even we see with the brands, like the way that customer information is handled and things like that, which is good obviously for customers, but it's definitely different than it is over here. So I think this is kind of a weird step. I don't know if, I guess there are very terrible people hacking
kids' phones. Apparently, it's been used to record classrooms already. Like there are documented cases of this actually happening.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
All I can say is
I'm not a child. I don't have any, so I guess I don't really have an opinion on this right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. I don't own any. He actually does own a smartwatch. He's the one
right.
of the two of us. Yeah, Mont Blanc Summit.
It
How do you like
works.
that? Fun stuff?
Yeah, I wear it every day. And it stays in my office now.
Okay, so he swears by the smartwatch, but he is old enough to ride this one.
That's right. And if you record me, you'll just hear like crass jokes and things. So
Yeah, whatever. We play fast and loose with the law in the United States. You can get away with anything. It's the wild, wild west.
especially nowadays.
All of that said, Swiss watch exports for October, continuing our thread of industry news. More good news for the land of watches, chocolates, and cheese. Switzerland winning streak extended to 8 solid months of continuous growth in value exported. Now you can see since roughly February there's been a solid uptick. This is new watches, folks, so not the pre-owned that we typically cover at the Watchbox. Still, a rising tide often lifts all boats. This is all compared to the same periods corresponding in 2016. Steel led all categories with gains of 11.6% value exported. Precious metals was second, 8.3% gain, and in third position on our podium, two-tone gold and steel was up 4.2%. Unlike September, when high-end watches priced at 3,000 plus Swiss francs or higher led all gainers, this month saw the largest gains driven by mid-priced watches that retail for 500 to 3,000 Swiss francs. You can see in value exported, they were up over 20%. Plus 3,000 Swiss franc watches were still up over 6%, so good news across the board. I will say that the Far East led the way with, in order, Japan at 21.7%, mainland China at 18.2%, and Hong Kong at 15.8% growth, leading the gainers. Well, the U.S. market dropped precipitously, -7 plus, I think, and then you also had the European markets, the main ones, Italy and the UK, roughly static, although happily Europe as a whole was up 5.9%.
Nice.
Now we enter the home stretch. Josh, talk about the importance on both the new and the pre-owned side of November and December to the watch industry and sales.
Yeah, I mean, this is really when you make your entire year, right? So we've been gearing up. Things have been slowly ramping up for us. We have a staff of what now? I guess 15 sales reps that work for our online, and then we have however many in our retail stores, and everyone's kind of inundated. So we got to finish out the year strong. I think we're going to. I think it's going to be an up year. Stock market's up. Things like Bitcoin and whatnot are up too, which is kind of like an indicator, though that's something different too. But I mean, I think it's going to. This year can really bring back the Swiss watch industry that was down for the last couple of years.
Yeah, we won't. Here's the thing. I think we're going to see more bank made in November and December because those are always strong. Even in a bad year, those are strong months.
Yeah.
And everything is indexed relative to 2016, which was, the watch apocalypse. So what I believe is that we're going to find out how strong this recovery really is starting next February, because that will be the first time we see year-over-year gains relative to a up year. So instead of 2016 as our benchmark, next year in February, they're going to be talking about 2017 February, the first month that the uptick started. If we still see growth relative to 2017 in February, March, May, and June, I think the growth and the recovery is for real. If the exports struggle to recover relative to a bounce back year, then I say that, like many economies and many industries globally, the Swiss watch industry is in a holding pattern. We'll find out. But Josh, let me ask you something. You're a holder of Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, certainly, yeah.
Okay. So do you think that Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, Dash, these cryptocurrencies are actually useful for transactions, or are they more like securities that you buy and hold, hoping they'll go up?
I think it's kind of like in the middle there. Even the government has their own type of cryptocurrency. I think it's called Ripple or something along those lines.
Ripple's a government currency?
Yeah, I believe so.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
which is I think it's the least valuable one because nobody wants to use it. But it's interesting because it allows people to send funds over the internet, but same as cash. So because it's it's untrackable and traceable, and that's kind of the initial allure to it. And then now there's also people who are investing into it because it seems like it's blowing up like Bitcoin are. And then there's it's an interesting thing. It would be, in my opinion, down the road, say 50, 100 years from now, if
Yes.
We haven't flattened the earth, right? It can be like a unified currency because it's easily moved across across platforms, and it's highly secure. So I guess so long as nobody hacks it, which if they do, then it becomes totally useless. I think that it can become a useful currency, and I'm certainly a cautious investor in that, but I invest in different things, try to diversify. So I think it's interesting, and I think it'd be great for watch companies to start accepting it because you have you're selling globally.
It's arguably a lot bigger in the Far East, where I think China recently had to clamp down on initial coin offerings, which were basically this endless series of coins that were effectively a replacement for corporate bonds. They were creating their own corporate cryptocurrencies.
Right. Well, there's people who are kind of using it the wrong way, and speculators who see all these things exploding, they're jumping on the bandwagon and not understanding it fully. And I think it's totally outlawed in Russia. I think it's the only country I read about that cryptocurrencies are outlawed, which I'm not exactly sure how you catch people using cryptocurrencies because that's the point of them. But I guess if you get caught, you get thrown into a Russian jail.
Not a bad point, and something to avoid.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, Microsoft accepts it now. It's a rumor that Amazon might, and I think it's something that could be interesting moving forward.
Cryptocurrencies, I'm going to declare them mature when we're accepting them as a transactional cash here at thewatchbox.com.
Agreed.
I want to thank Josh for coming on. I want to thank my crew for spooling us up. And I want to remind you to stay tuned on my Instagram. The fun continues after the broadcast. Tim_Mosso, Mr. Thanos, that's his Instagram.
That's me.
Also, visit our new website at thewatchbox.com. Josh, thanks for joining us today. Do you have any parting thoughts for our field?
Thanks for joining us. Hopefully you guys will come on back. And if you enjoyed this one, we have a lot of other shows. We have Jason Main, we have Claudio, we have Brian, whole lineup.
And I'll throw this out there. Come back, not the next Friday, but the Friday after, and we'll be back. The Watchbox on Ablogtowatch YouTube. Until then, I'm Tim, he's Josh. This is thewatchbox.com, and thanks for logging on.